The Biden administration out with a new action plan pushing back against the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade. The HHS secretary calling for increased access to abortion pills as a, quote, national imperative. So some states moved to ban abortion. Joining me now, South Dakota Republican Governor Kristi Noem. Kristi, thanks for being here with me.
Oh, absolutely,
so
Sean.
You're a governor of a Republican-leaning state. What impact has the Dobbs decision, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, had on voters in a state like yours?
Well, South Dakota had a trigger law in place, which means back in 2005, they passed a bill that put into statute that if Roe v. Wade was ever overturned, that abortions would immediately be illegal in the state of South Dakota. The only exception would be to save the life of the mother. So that is the law of the land today. I know that people are concerned about how that goes forward in many of these states. In South Dakota, the mothers would not be prosecuted, would not be punished at all if they were to go out and try to access an abortion. It would be the doctors. It would be the doctors that knowingly violate the law to do this procedure in the state of South Dakota today that would be prosecuted.
So the liability would not fall to a mother who is seeking an abortion. It would fall on the doctor who is performing or the nurse who is performing the abortion.
And I think it's important that we talk about that because so many times we talk about being pro-life and we talk about those babies, but these mothers are in crisis too. You know, many of them have an unplanned pregnancy. Maybe it became because of some kind of trauma. It certainly is something they don't know how they're going to pay for their medical care. They don't know how they're going to pay their bills, and then they have this baby coming. It is a challenge. So I launched a website called life.sd.gov that connects folks to all those resources during that period of time, and even to adoptive families that may want to give that baby a home if they chose that path.
I believe I heard a stat out of Pennsylvania that 80% of women who had an abortion, if one person would have stepped up and said, I'm willing to help you, they wouldn't have had the abortion. So is there a role for states who may ban abortions to actually step up and go, listen, if we're going to ban abortions, we have to provide aid for moms who are about to have a baby, that they can care for their baby, they can pay for food and diapers and all of that?
Yeah, that's the challenge. Most of these individuals, you know, that I've visited with in the past just said that we felt very alone. We felt a lot of pressure to get an abortion, and we didn't know what our options were. So not just partnering them with state money, maybe it's connecting them with nonprofits that are already there doing this work. There's so many churches and other organizations, pregnancy centers that are helping these individuals. The state can fill a big role in meeting some of those needs and also facilitating it.
Yeah, so Vice President Kamala Harris says the White House is looking at travel vouchers to support women seeking to end a pregnancy. You and I both served in Congress together. We came in 2010 together. And this very well could violate the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment is always language that goes into bills that says you can't use any taxpayer funding for abortion. Possible lawsuits here?
I believe so, absolutely. I think they would be challenged immediately on that. It is spending taxpayer money to facilitate an abortion, which clearly would be against federal law. So, you know, and that's the other conversation is people have talked about accessing abortion pills through the mail or by telephone. We banned that in South Dakota this year. Yes. I brought a bill myself that said that that was not going to be allowed for abortions. It's 4 times more dangerous for a woman to undergo this procedure without a doctor's supervision. It is a dangerous procedure. I understand the drugs are used in other areas, but it's used under a doctor's supervision. So this would not be something that would be allowed in our state.
Fantastic. Now judges in Louisiana and Utah have temporarily blocked their state's trigger laws banning abortion. So you say you have a trigger law in South Dakota. What would you do if you had a court that came out and said, listen, we're going to block that trigger law in your state?
That has not happened in South Dakota yet, and I think it's because our statute obviously is much more clear than theirs were. A lot of thought has gone in South Dakota to really make sure that our laws could be upheld, that they could withstand a court challenge. And what's interesting is that we've had some ballot initiatives in South Dakota in the past. So there's been quite a battle going on. In fact, the next case that was coming before the Supreme Court after Dobbs that would have overturned Roe v. Wade was Planned Parenthood versus Noem.
Oh, really?
So that case is coming before the Supreme Court, and if Dobbs didn't do it, it was going to be Planned Parenthood versus Noem that would be next before the Supreme Court that I think we could have a favorable decision for life as well.
Well, Dobbs took care of it.
Yes, it did.
It was a great day on Friday. Yeah. I want to talk to you about your new book. It's called Not My First Rodeo. And by the way, I would say I love you on a horse and an American flag. What is the book about? Tell me about it.
Well, most people think that I would write a book all about politics, and there's definitely some political stories in there, but it is a lot about my life lived so far. I think people heard about me first in COVID and thought, what is this lady doing in South Dakota, and why is she the only one saying what she's saying and letting people get together for the Sturgis motorcycle bike rally and celebrating at Mount Rushmore? I think this book will help people understand why I made the decisions that I made, my background, ranching, growing up with the dad that I had, the mom that I had, the challenges I faced before, and how that created me to be stronger. And I think that it will bring a little hope to the country. Boy, we're desperate for some good American West inspiration, and I think this book will tell that story.
I got to tell you, my family came out to South Dakota to see you and Brian and the family. And
in January.
In January, it was cold. Well, Wisconsin's cold too.
Yes.
But Wisconsin was, on lockdown. Masks were mandated, and we brought the kids to South Dakota, and we went out to eat with your husband Brian, and they were able to go out to eat without masks on, and they thought it was the greatest thing ever that South Dakota was open, that there was freedom in your state. And again, I think there's a lot of voters in South Dakota who appreciate that you were following the science, that you let them make choices for themselves because you believed in them, as opposed to other states and other national leaders who refused to give people the freedom to decide what was right for them and their health risks.
Listen, Sean, all we did in South Dakota is what conservatives have always said we believed. We just did it. And it worked. We have the #1 economy in the country. Our kids are leading the nation in educational outcomes. Our people are happier. Our incomes are going faster than anywhere else. Tens of thousands of people have moved to South Dakota just because they want to live somewhere that the government respects them. And I have a gift for you.
You do?
I do. You cannot make a good decision in life without a cowboy hat.
Right?
Yep, it's the truth. It really will. If you're ever questioning something, you got a hard decision to make.
Well,
there you go.
You
don't have to put it on right now because I realize you're on TV.
My daughter.
Oh, this is man. Look at that.
My daughter got married and I had one of these on, and I know I don't look good on them. All right, not my first rodeo. Kristi Noem, thank you for joining me. Thanks for being a great governor in a great state. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being a friend.